And about a year ago, I transitioned to IFAS, and now I oversee all of IFAS maintenance statewide. So I'll go through that, and but my background is mechanical engineering, and I've been working on campus since about 2002 was one of my first projects. So it's been a long history. I moved here to go to college and somehow just never left. So it's been a good run. So I'll go through these slides and feel free if you have a question, just feel free to interrupt. I'll try to take some breaths and pause so that you can get in a question. Here's my contact information, and I'll show that slide again at the end. All right, so IFAS Facilities, we have over 80 employees across the state, and I have about 83 under my purview, and I think we have a total of 93 is the final count right now that are in the facilities planning and operations. We have a local warehouse here in Gainesville that we stock about 6,500 different parts, and we use those for repairs here on campus. And I'll show you what campus really means to us is kind of traveling quite a bit because we have locations that are spread out throughout the state, but our largest group of staff are here located in Gainesville, and we'll travel about 2 hours outside of Gainesville to support semi-local units and research education centers. And then I have staff that are spread out throughout the state at each of those other locations. But again, we are 24/7 emergency response. We deal mainly with repairs and building maintenance. We have over 13,000 work orders that we complete every year. And when I was at housing, I had 3.2 million square feet of space here on campus. And now with IFAS, I have 1,400 plus buildings that are spread out all across the state and over 4 million square feet to maintain. So it is a lot to take on, but the good news is not all of that are, sticks and bricks buildings, if you will. There's a lot of research space and greenhouses and things like that that are much easier to maintain than a laboratory building. Another fun fact, we receive and process over 620 monthly utility bills, which totals up for about almost $10 million annually, and that's across the state. So we have natural gas, water, trash pickup, electrical costs from utility companies. So we deal with every utility company in the state of Florida pretty much. So here's our org chart. I report up to the director of facilities. It's Ronnie Cooper. He was formerly in my role, and when he was a successful candidate in that, I saw an opportunity and applied for this one, and here I am. So I have the lion's share of staff under my branch of the organization, and I oversee, like I said, I've got a small IT group, building automation systems, a warehouse. We oversee all of our own asset management and our work order system. Then we have regional coverage with superintendents that are the North region, South region. Then we have locally here in Gainesville and the Central region. And I'll show you how those kind of break down. But these are the locations, so quite a few locations that fit underneath each one of those purviews. So this map represents everywhere that we travel. And I was ambitious my first year. I thought that I would get to visit every single one of these the first year I'd started, and I was wrong. I was not able to make it to all those. That represents about 3,000 miles of travel time. And if I were to start up in the Pensacola area, it takes about 31 days to visit each site for a day and get all the way down to Homestead, which is in that bottom right past Miami. So we are in a lot of places. We also have 3 4-H camps plus a 4-H presence here in Gainesville. And so they're busy right now. This is their busy time of summer, and research and education centers everywhere in between. What's interesting is in the Gainesville area, if you go east to St. Augustine, we have a place there in Hastings, which is think the potato capital of at least Florida, maybe the Southeast. And then if you travel to the west, to the coast, we have Cedar Key, and there's a research station there. And then our staff here in Gainesville also travel up to Lake City, which is in Live Oak, actually, and we have a research station there that we cover from Gainesville. Everything else has its own crew, whether it be just one maintenance or a group of maintenance, depending on the size and the scope and the breadth of research there in each location. I can go through these. So we've got Jay and Milton up in the Panhandle. Then we move over to Quincy and Mariana near Tallahassee. Like I said, we have Live Oak, and then Hastings and Cedar Key out of Gainesville. We go down near Ocala to a place called Citra. And then we have Lake Alfred, Apopka near Orlando. And then over towards the Tampa area, Ruskin, and a place called Balm or Waimoma, depending on if you're over in that area. They're kind of, I don't know where the break line is between those two, but we call them both. And then as we continue to head south, we have Ona, which is a 7,500 acre cattle ranch. And then continuing down south to Immokalee. And then in Palm Beach County, we have Belglade, which is just south of Lake Okeechobee. We have Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, and then Fort Lauderdale, and all the way down to Homestead. So our oversight is, I mean, it kind of the way we provide facility support. So anything building maintenance related falls under my purview. We do have multiple teams where we have regional support from a project management team. So my counterpart is Sean Mountain, and he oversees all the project managers. So we have currently 3.5 project managers right now, and they cover each of those regions to the north, central, and south regions. And then the half project manager kind of teams up and covers things here. So Sean and I work a lot together. When it constitutes a project, we coordinate the scope, and then he'll take the project until substantial completion, and then it gets turned back over to me and my maintenance team to continue to maintain it to the end of life. When we get to that end of life cycle, then we look at repairs or replacement and kind of start that process again. We have close to 3,000 preventative maintenance work orders that come out every year just here in Gainesville alone. And we do those preventative maintenance work orders all across the state, some of which we contract out. We're currently renegotiating a statewide contract with Siemens, but it may be open to other vendors depending on how that state contract is negotiated. And if so, it may go out to bid. We have custodial services, some in-house and some contracted throughout the state. We deal with elevator services through TKE, and that's a state contract that we piggyback off of. That's part of the campus contract. Pest control services are also statewide. When you have that many buildings, you have lots of pests that you need to keep out of the research. While we do research on termites, we don't want outside termites coming in, so we have to keep an eye on those. Fire alarm and sprinkler inspections happen all year round, as well as life safety and generator contracts. So another interesting fun fact, the reason we're spread out so far across the state is the different climates and soil conditions. So we're able to do a wide range of research on different soil types. Like up in Jay, Florida, you have clay soils, and you have sandy soil in Hastings. And as you continue to move south in Belglade, they call that black gold. We have a really rich black soil. And then you have the corals and sand down in Homestead. And so we're able to do research on crops and different plant types and growing environments so that we can determine how to produce more viable, more dense crops with less land. Because as Florida continues to be developed for residential and commercial space, all of our farmland is disappearing. So we've got to figure out how to feed, the United States and feed America on smaller plots of land. And if you've ever had a strawberry, you've probably had one that was genetically um, basically created the seeds from Balm, Florida. So all the strawberries in the world, probably 90% of those come from Balm, Florida, which is really unique when you think about how they've managed to produce a strawberry that can grow in all types of environments and is pest resistant and things like that. So it is, I find it fascinating. Being in housing, I didn't deal with all this type of research, so it's been a fun learning curve. And again, our building types just range from everything you can think of, from pole barns to greenhouses and shade houses, which are shown in the bottom left and top right. You've got a laboratory building here in the center top, administration buildings down in the bottom right. Um, we do some fencing projects, but not many. We try to stay away from fencing. We typically will contract that out. And then site work improvements, irrigation systems, things like that we handle. So a lot of the opportunities we have, um, like for example, we may need a small laboratory space with some new electrical infrastructure down in Belglade. And using vendors from Gainesville may not always be feasible, although we do have some support here from Gainesville with our contractors. But as some of you are spread out in the Tampa area or down in the South Florida area, we might be reaching out to say, hey, we've got a little project that sounds like it's a good fit for your company, and we would reach out and see if that's something you could provide, go over the scope of work, make sure you understand it, and then, go through that process. And if we needed to have multiple quotes, then we would have to get, more bids if it's over the threshold. But if it's under a certain threshold, then we can just move forward with issuing the contract and going through procurement, getting you on board, and through through the small business group, getting you set up as a vendor. Now, I have heard that procurement prefers for you to have a contract in place or have a contract ready to go before they'll add you into the system, just to make sure that we don't overwhelm the system with lots of vendors. So I think that's still the case. And but if we have a project that we want to work on together, you would contact me or Sean, and we could help. If you're the right fit, we'll get you in the system and get that PO issued and go from there. So I'll go to the next slide. So here's my counterpart, Sean Mountain. He oversees all the projects, like I said, and then myself with all the maintenance. And feel free to email me if it sounds like something you want to be a part of, or if you know another vendor that's been through the program, send them my way. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we've got a nice kind of small intimate group, so ask away. Even if it doesn't fit, I can maybe help navigate you in the right direction.
Hey Chad, this is Q with V2Soft. Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
presentation. So we're an IT staffing and solutions company. I know that you do a lot with building maintenance there, and also you showed me like a little bit of a screenshot of your team, and you have an IT team there as well too. Can you let me know, or if you see any projects or in the future that requires any IT solutions or like a or staffing in your department, or no?
Well, so it's interesting. So staffing wise, would we consult out your group to help us with some of those IT initiatives, or do you actually do physical installation of like
We do
network?
both. We do both.
Okay.
We do SOWs, RFPs, and we also do the other side, which is staffing as well too.
Okay. Yeah, we run into issues of getting network cabling and fiber installed in some of our remote locations. Now, UF has a very robust IT group, and they staff and support 90% of all of our locations, but we do run into time to time where we do need that additional support, where maybe they can't run a fiber in a time that we need it, so we might have to contract with somebody else.
We
And
do
so,
more so with like the software side, like software development side.
yeah, so software is going to be tricky with UF because there's a I would have to kind of lean towards Desiree or Denise to help with some of that because
Sure.
UFIT has a lot of different criteria with software and what's approved. So that might be a different session that's kind of outside of my
Okay.
expertise because we're not technically allowed to directly contract with a software vendor unless it's been vetted through the UFIT system.
I would also have to side with Chad on that one, Q. Software is a little bit different versus the going in to do the physical work. So,
So much so that when I was with housing, we were trying to develop and contract with a housing management system to track all of the occupancy management that housing had, which was nearly 10,000 students. And when we went out for bid to national companies, UFIT said, "Well, I think we can build our own software and not use an outside vendor." So it was like, whoa, okay, if you want to take that on, but took about a year, and then they decided that that was a bit more than they bit off more than they could chew and ended up negotiating that. But typically they try to do a lot of things in-house. But
And if I could share my screen for 1 second, I wanted to show you. So on the IT website, to just go along with what everybody's saying, you could see the type of services that you would fall under here in the IT website. So you could see it's a plethora of obviously different varieties. So I would encourage you to come on here and see where this would go through so that you can go through the correct.
Sure. Can you
But yes,
send that? Can you please send that link into the chat at all?
yes,
Thank you so much.
I'm going to do
look at that, I just learned something too.
that.
So many UF websites, it's hard to keep track of.
Where did
did
Are you
anyone else
guys?
have a question?
Hi, Chad. This is Bob Geary here. How you doing?
Good.
We've emailed back and forth a little bit.
Yes, sir.
What is the best way? Maybe we're putting the cart in front of the horse, but I was fortunate enough to run into Luan. So we are getting set up as a supplier. We're getting a couple small business certifications also. Um, what is the best way? I've noticed with the city of Gainesville, for instance, getting set up on OpenGov and DemandStar and all that stuff for your traditional procurement really wasn't the best track to be in due to the emergent need of our services, oftentimes as far as a mitigation or board up type
Yep.
stuff. So is there a track with you that is, emergency oriented, or would you suggest anything different for us? And I know you understand our business.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to work with procurement right now because everything goes through procurement and their team to get vendors into the system. And so we're trying to set up some of these quick response type contracts where we have maybe open book pricing or some sort of way to validate, because to your point, if we have an emergency, like last year, we had a lot of hurricanes. And if a hurricane hits Florida, it probably hits one of my buildings. So we had about $2.1 million of damage with over 180 structures that were damaged or destroyed. And so, again, trying to get three quotes to make some emergency mitigation or repairs is difficult. We don't have that time. And dealing with FEMA is a whole other, we're still dealing with them now. So it's, we don't have time to stop research for a year. And so we've got to get things going. So I'll reach back out to you. I have your contact, and maybe we can set up a little meeting and do a meet and greet with you and Sean and I, and see what fits to get ready for, unfortunately, this next hurricane season that's coming.
Uh, Big time thoughts on that, but thanks so much.
Yep.
Wow, 2.1. Sheesh.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. It kept me busy this year.
Thank you.
So, Chad, I know y'all all order yourself. I've done some IFAS merchandise
Yeah.
before, but I haven't done any in a bit. Do you have
Okay.
somebody in your department that I can talk to
Yeah.
again? Because I
Yeah,
already
if
have
you-
your logo.
Yeah, if you will, yeah, we actually just rebranded and are changing some things. So Yeah, if you'll email me, Eric Dickerson is our warehouse manager, and he deals, Don Delaney works with him as well. And the two of them deal with all of our logos and uniforms and things like that and promotional things.
Yep, I know exactly where, because I used to drop stuff off there, but I just haven't
Oh,
done anything for y'all in a while. So,
okay. Yep, we've
so
been
if
going
y'all
through a
rebranding,
rebranding.
I
Uh,
love rebranding
Okay, great.
because that means you need more stuff.
Yes,
Okay, so
that's right.
I'll email you mine. Is your email going to be in? I know they usually supply it after this.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the chat too so that everybody has it.
Perfect timing, Teresa.
What can I say?
There is mine. Um,
And you all will get this presentation in a follow-up email per usual.
Sean Mountains as well.
You said Sean was the other one that does the warehouse? Because you
No,
said Eric. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Eric. I can
It was
put,
Eric. No.
you want me to put,
I think I have his email, but that's
make sure. I'll put it in the chat for you anyway.
okay.
Stand
Thank
by it.
you.
I had closed Outlook, so I didn't get all those wonderful notifications.
Did anyone else have any other questions for Chad?
There we go.
Thank you.
Well, if you think of anything later, or you feel like you have some services, that might help us, and like I said, anywhere across the state, just reach out and let me know, and we'll set up a time and go over some scope because we're ending the end of our fiscal year. So just so you're aware, our UF works on a little bit different fiscal year. We're a July 1st through June 30th. So we're in those last 45 days or so of our fiscal year. But once July 1st rolls around, then we'll be starting a whole new fiscal year. And we do about $3.1 million of deferred maintenance projects every year, that are funded through our state funding. And then we typically have anywhere from 100 to 250 projects, which are funded by different, donations or research or grants. And those numbers can be, all across the board. We have one project right now that's a major project that's $30 million. And then we have some that are, a pole barn that's, less than 30,000. So we have everything in between.
If I can just ask one more question,
Yeah,
Chad.
absolutely.
So just to be clear, I know IFAS is a huge department. So in Gainesville and around the state, all of the facilities that you are responsible for are directly IFAS related.
Yes.
So there is some other gentleman like yourself or lady that has, again, additional all that stuff that's not IFAS related. So there's a tremendous amount of facilities in addition to the massive amount you already take care of.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. We
Just
have,
double checking.
yes, we have 3 entities that really work with the contractors here. Housing's going to be one of them, and they're partially under facility services. Mark Helms is I think he's the associate vice president for facility services. He's got a senior director, Greg Clark, and then under Greg is Tyler Rodenbaum, and Tyler oversees custodial and housing maintenance. They're your lion's share of folks here on campus that need that quick response. They they're able to do a lot with what they have. They have about 240 maintenance slash custodial staff in-house with a vacuum truck and things like that, but there's times where it's beyond overwhelming and you just don't have enough resources to pull when you have a major flood or an event. But I know that you can probably get their contact information as you continue through this program. They may even be doing a presentation a little later. University athletics, they do a lot of contracting as well. So you'll probably be meeting with one of those folks, Bill Smith, or one of those representatives of how to do business with them. And then me. Now, I don't oversee the extension offices, so there's a lot of IFAS County extension offices. That is a state and federal level, so I don't oversee those. But any UF IFAS building, I do. How far do you travel, Paul?
We are we go into Levy, Alachua. We don't go nearly as far as you guys go. We get about 5 county service area up into Columbia. We will come down into Northern Marion. We will do Levy. I believe we could handle your Cedar Key property,
Yep.
depending. So that's about it. But I can give you something also geographically that's
No, that's
easy to
perfect.
follow.
I've got plenty of buildings in all the counties you just listed.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome, awesome. So if that is it for today, we're going to pull up our survey. If you all could take a few moments just to complete that for us. We highly value feedback here in our department, so it
I
should
know
take
it's,
less than 3 minutes.
yeah, it should take let me know when you, I know it's everybody's favorite part, but yeah, it should even take you less than 3 minutes.